All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our this month's IBDPros presentation keynote with David Meltzer. We want to thank you all for attending today. It's going to be an extremely exciting time conversation, tons of value. I'm excited real quick. I know we have quite a few people here who have never been on the Remo platform. That is the platform you are on right now. So I'm just going to explain a few things to you real quick, get a few housekeeping things out of the way. One, there's two modes for Remo. You were just in what we call conversation mode, where you can bounce from table to table. As you can see, the tables had a certain amount of chairs. Typically, we keep it all the same, but this floor plan we chose today actually allows for two people, very intimate interaction, 4 people and 6 people. So you can bounce around freely and communicate with people on those tables, but you can also chat. There's a chat button at the bottom. You hit that, and to the right, you have a chat opportunity that pops up, which allows you to talk to everyone, to just people at the table, or to someone privately. We are now in what we call presentation mode, which represents more of a webinar. So everyone now is listening. Your mics and cameras are disabled. Our speakers who are designated speakers will be able to turn their mics and cameras on and off, and they'll appear here on the stage. To the right, again, we have chat, participants, and Q&A. So just to let you know, David is going to do his presentation, and then we're going to leave some room for some Q&A. You can start throwing your questions in there, and we'll get to them as we have enough time. David, unfortunately, has limited time, so we're going to try to get as many things in as possible. So that's the Remo platform in a nutshell. And I'm really excited to get things started. So first of all, the proceeds from today's event is going to be given to the Unstoppable Foundation, which is a nonprofit humanitarian organization bringing sustainable education to children and communities in developing countries, thereby creating a safer and more just world for everyone. That's our benefiting charity of today's event, which I believe David Meltzer is the chair, I believe, or the co-chair. We'll find out if I got that right or wrong. And to speak about the Unstoppable Foundation, I'd love to call up Rochelle at this time. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your clickers together for Rochelle. Rochelle, please come on up, and I will disappear for a little while.
Yeah, did that work? Do you see me okay?
I see you perfectly. You look fantastic.
Great. And David is the chairman of our board with the Unstoppable Foundation. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to go ahead and get started, Jimmy. Is that okay?
Please do. Definitely.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I was found at 8 years old, almost frozen to death behind a grocery store. You see, my young parents, they had fallen on very hard times, and as a family, we suddenly became homeless. My father lost his job. My mom didn't work, and there was 6 of us. And my young parents tried for months to feed us. We would go down at night to the city, to dumpsters behind grocery stores. And at night, we lived in tents in the mountains to try to survive. One day, the struggle of all of my family trying to feed all of us, it just became too much for my parents. And they did what they thought at the time would provide the best chance for me to survive, and they left me behind a grocery store. So I know firsthand what it feels like to not have enough food, shelter, water, safety, and just live a daily struggle of just basic survival. And this is what it was like in the late 70s. And before smartphones, before Google. So it was a bit more difficult for my parents to get connected to the resources and the help they need. But eventually they did. And luckily, living in this country, there is an infrastructure in place. It allowed for my family to become reunited, and we were able to rebuild our lives. Now, even though the infrastructure is not perfect, it still needs help today. I am very grateful that I've been able to turn my life around to be with all of you here today. But on the other side of the world, as the sun is just rising over the Masai Mara in Kenya, there's a young girl named Grace. She is waking up, and as her bare feet touch the dirt floor of her mud hut, she quietly steps past her 6 siblings and her parents, and she grabs a very large plastic jug. She leaves immediately and she begins to walk to the closest river to gather water. Now, this is a very long, dangerous path with the chance of wild animal attacks, and she's traveling alone. She's in her bare feet. And this takes over an hour to get to the closest river. And when she arrives, she starts to fill up that large container with dark brown, grayish contaminated water. But this is her only option. She then drags and lugs that heavy container all the way back to her home. This takes her hours. And when she arrives, her mom knows that she's hungry, but there isn't any food to feed her. Instead, her mom makes her a cup of tea. She takes that large container of water, pours it into a trough, and that water is going to take care of her family, the animals, their daily drinking, bathing, and cooking needs. Now, Grace, she doesn't get to go to school this day. In fact, she doesn't get to go any day. Instead, her mom hands her that yellow jug back, and from sunrise to sunset, this is her life. She's 8 years old. Now, most of us in this country, we cannot imagine this life day to day, let alone asking your own children or children you know that are like Grace to go and haul wood or water all day long. We wouldn't even think of it. But as of today, this is exactly what it's like when I'm on the ground in Kenya. So for Grace and her family and thousands more like her, this is why the Unstoppable Foundation exists. We learned that you have to provide access to an education for girls like Grace to go to school, but building a school is not enough. We realize that if you don't provide clean water, then girls like Grace, they're spending their every waking hour hauling water from sunrise to sunset. If you don't provide access to healthcare, then when they get sick, they don't feel good. They can't even concentrate in school. And also, if you don't provide access to sustainable food, they're too hungry, right? They can't even concentrate because their stomachs are growling in school. And finally, if you don't provide a way for their parents to create an income, the project can never sustain itself. And so this is why we created a holistic model. We call it Sponsor a Village. And it not only provides access to an education, it provides life-sustaining services so children like Grace can go to school and stay in school. And to date, we've been able to help over 42,000 children and their families gain access to education and life-sustaining resources. And we've also been able to partner with communities through this model who have been able to come off of our assistance, and they're fully self-reliant. So this has been able to help us earn, as an organization, the Platinum Seal of Transparency through the Charity Navigator, if any of you are familiar with that. And even more importantly, it's allowed the communities that we serve to never need charity again. So they're empowered and they're self-reliant. So if empowering others to help themselves excites you, I would enjoy the opportunity to speak with any of you and explore ways that you might be inspired to use your voice, your platform, your products, your services, your events like this one to make a difference while being able to fulfill your giving goals at the same time. And so feel free to reach out and book a time to share any ideas, and I'll drop my information in chat. And then also, in addition to some of the proceeds from your ticket purchase today, you'll also have an opportunity to be able to give more children like Grace, who are on our waiting list, to have a chance to get access to education as well as our life-saving services. And so I'll be dropping in a link. If that inspires you to support, I think also the IBB team will be emailing you later on as well. And so you can look for that. But lastly, I just want to thank Joey. I want to thank Gary, Brooks, David Meltzer, and the entire IDV Pro community. I'm excited to meet more of you for the opportunity to present the Unstoppable Foundation, and for your time, and also for the generosity you've already provided us by purchasing your ticket and being in this event today. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. First of all, Rochelle, that was a moving story, and thank you for sharing it with us. We're extremely excited to be able to work with you and support you. So thank you for everything. And and if you guys see, there's a guy down at the bottom here. Look at that smile. And let me tell you, I had the chance yesterday, Gary and I, to be on the show with David. And I'm telling you, I was blown away. The production level, the whole thing. I was just like, where am I? I thought I was on Oprah or something. But I want to just everyone probably knows who David is. But I just want to give the mic to him now and let him do his thing, because you guys are going to be mesmerized, transformed. And David, first of all, thank you for being here as well, Rochelle as well. And sir, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I'm blessed to speak around the world, and at times even get paid a ton of money to speak, but nothing is better payment than me to have an opportunity to have Rochelle here and to talk about the biggest accomplishment of my life, which was 3 years ago at my 50th birthday. I did 50 birthday parties around the world to raise money for Unstoppable myself. And as chairman of the board of Unstoppable, I am just here to reiterate the importance it is worldwide to support causes like Unstoppable. And if it is Unstoppable, your money will be well spent on changing the world. My mission in life is simply to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, looking for 1,000 people like Gary and Jimmy and Rochelle, who I know in their lifetimes will empower 1,000 people to empower 1,000 people simply to be happy. Happiness, to me, is the most underrated thing in the world. It's the extreme virus of all times. It's simply spread by witnessing it. You can't stop it. It strengthens you emotionally, physically, financially. It even strengthens your immune system, so it's going to protect you. And what I want to talk about today is the principles of happiness to make a lot of money, to help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun, to make a difference to yourself, for yourself, and through yourself. And the first of the values that I want to talk about is gratitude. And I think gratitude, we've heard about, talked about, overused, underused, manipulated, cheated, and even screamed with, but it's a simple and powerful tool. I laugh all the time because there's two things that people tell me change their life that I speak about. One is gratitude, because I tell people all the time, if you simply say thank you before you go to bed, and when you wake up, I guarantee your life will change. If you can do it for 30 straight days, it'll go into your subconscious, you'll create a neural pathway. That neural pathway will start speaking to even your unconscious competency. You'll activate a layer of your DNA, an epigenetic layer that activates more of who you are, personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, addictions, all related to one thing: gratitude. Gratitude gives us what? It gives us perspective. The hardest thing about gratitude is to remain in gratitude. I always talk about minutes and moments, because we have so many things that distract us from gratitude. But yet, if we can stay in gratitude in an abundance place, not where things happen to us as victims or for us, where we buy things we don't need to impress people we don't like, but a place of gratitude, a perspective where everything comes through us with appreciation of gratitude, and of adding value and giving it away through us. Now, I talked about gratitude. A funny part of it is that I learned to say thank you before I was 3. In fact, all my relatives, friends, families, I remember on multiple occasions, don't forget to say thank you, say thank you. And yet, all the coaching and speaking and books and TV shows and movies and all the gratitude that I spew a tremendous amount, it's amazing how many people tell me, thank you so much, you changed my life. You changed my life. I say thank you before I go to bed and when I wake up. It takes 0.1 seconds. And if you could do it for 30 straight days, it will change your life. In fact, I used to tell people all the time, if you could say thank you for 30 straight days, I will sign my book, send it to you, and ship it to you, and pay for shipping. because of the way gratitude works, I now allow that you don't even have to say thank you. All you gotta do is email me, and you can pick up my email in those comments, david@dmeltzer.com, right below. I'm happy to send my book to teach this powerful tool of perspective, of gratitude. Gratitude is a tool that allows us to find the light, the love, and the lessons in everything. I don't believe you love anything. I believe you learn to love it through gratitude. I believe that gratitude allows pain, right? Pain to be a turn signal, not a stop sign in your life. Gratitude will allow you not only to see the world as half full, but overflowing. And gratitude allows us to receive. Gratitude is the most powerful of all the values because we can change the way we look at things so the things that we look at change. The second value that I want to talk about is empathy. Now, empathy is commonly confused with sympathy, and sympathy is the way that we feel about someone else. Sympathy would be, sorry that that happened to you. Well, I'm here to tell you that empathy is far more powerful than sympathy because you can't be sad enough for someone to make them happy. You can't be poor enough to make someone rich. You can't be sick enough to make someone well. Empathy is forgiveness. And forgiveness to me has really evolved in my philosophy because at first, forgiveness to me gave me peace. Gratitude gave me perspective. Forgiveness gave me peace. And all peaceful relationships, people, circumstances, all relativity was peaceful. What an important thing in our lives. And the cool thing about forgiveness was I only had to forgive one person, myself, because we can't give what we don't have. That's why I believe in making a lot of money, helping a lot of people, having a lot of fun. I believe in receiving first so I can give through me with appreciation to others. And forgiveness is the key because it gives us that peace. It clears the interferences, the voids, the shortages, the obstacles of what we already have, worth the worth that we have to and connected through. It's already there. And forgiveness is the little key that allows us to access it. You don't have to go over, under, through, around, but simply forgive yourself. But the one thing I didn't realize about forgiveness until this year during the pandemic is that during the pandemic, so many people, as I was coaching them, would talk about the uncertain times. And it would really drive me nutty because I was like, when in my life was there a certain time? In fact, exactly. Um, I can make billions of dollars. I'll give mine away to charity. You can keep yours. So call me if you know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. What I realized is the only certainty that was in my life was forgiveness, meaning that the better I could practice forgiveness, the better I could pursue my potential of forgiveness, the closer I could become to certainty. In other words, the closer I came to forgiving the unforgivable, the closer my future became certain. And yet I'm still on that journey, practicing forgiveness for peace and certainty in my life. The third thing in value was accountability. Now, most people, over 90% of the people that I meet, live their life in liability, which is why I went to law school. I want to figure out who to blame, shame, and justify doing things, collect damages for things of that nature by projecting what has happened onto everybody else. Accountability is far greater than liability. Liability will allow you to live below the line in blame, shame, and justification. Once again, creating void, shortages, and obstacles. Once again, making everyone around you a gatekeeper, stopping you in a conflictual nature between you and what you're already connected to, the greatest source of light, love, and lessons. But accountability is so much more powerful because it allows us to have control, counterintuitive, but control of our lives. Accountability is simple. We just have to ask ourselves two questions. What did I do to attract this to myself? And what am I supposed to learn from it? Now, remember, life is about lessons. The lessons will keep on coming until we learn them. They result in pain, as I aforementioned to you earlier. They result in pain if you haven't learned the lesson. Therefore, pain is not a stop sign. It's a turn signal. It's telling you you have a lesson to learn. And if you learn it, you'll move to a better place, a better position, or a better situation, or make your situation better. Pain itself is only an indicator. It is not a stop sign. It is a turn signal to something better. And accountability allows us to find those lessons. And then finally, inspiration. There's a big difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation will get you up, get you back up, get you started, get you back started. Motivation is a short-term solution. It's a catalytic event that allows us to start the movement, to build the momentum, but it's not going to get you there. It's not going to get you there. That we have to understand inspiration is the ability to effectively communicate. To effectively communicate not only with everything and everyone that we're connected to. A tree has no branches. One branch would not go to war against another branch of a tree. And yet we somehow create interference, voids, and shortages by thinking as everybody as separate, as inferior or superior, creating obstacles, voids, and shortages, interference, and corrosion between what we're already connected to and through. And so we need to know and to be inspired in spirit, connected to and through everything and everyone by moving from a world of not enough, right? Rochelle and I both grew up in a world of not enough. Everything happened to us. We were victims. And then I was blessed to be a millionaire 9 months out of law school, and I moved to this world of just enough. Talked about it earlier, the world of just enough, where I was buying things to be happy. Money bought love and happiness for me, and it was reaffirmed throughout my career as I sold my first company for $3.4 billion, as I went to the Silicon Valley, became CEO of the world's first smartphone, then notable CEO of the most notable sports agency in the world, then created a marketing and media company with Hall of Fame quarterback Warren Moon, all just enough for me. A scarce world, giving to receive, which I thought was philanthropic. I thought it was a humanitarian life that I was leaving because I was giving to receive, but that was too a scarce world where everything was a negotiation or a trade for what I wanted. But once I learned inspiration, once I started to live an inspired life through 5 daily practices that can be applied to what? Business development. Why? Because what is business development? Business development is connecting through us to others, to understand that there are no gatekeepers, that they're simply sponsors and power sponsors in our life, connected to and through more and more power sponsors and sponsors in our lives. To be in spirit, to be connected to and through everything with no limitations. To know that first, the effective communication is not to others and everything else, but simply to the greatest source of light, love, and lessons at all time. And when we realize that we are already healthy, we are already wealthy, we are already happy, and that we need to look at what are we doing to interfere with our health, our wealth, and our happiness. What are we doing to interfere with that? We are already connected to everyone and everything in a world not of just enough or not enough, but a world of more than enough of everything for everyone that comes through us with appreciation and forgiveness and accountability to enhance and accelerate and expand and grow, to create abundance of more than enough of everything for everyone. And so what are these 5 daily practices of business development? How can I help you connect to and through everyone else with gratitude for that perspective, and forgiveness with peace and certainty, and accountability with control, and inspiration with power and source and light and lessons? Well, the number one thing is not your why. I know if I was in a public setting, I would ask, what do you think that number was? My why. I want to know what I'm passionate about, what I love, my truth. Well, your truth is that happiness is derived from enjoying the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of your potential. Happiness is the pursuit. There is no pursuit of happiness. Chris Gardner got it backwards, and so did Will Smith in the movie. It is not the pursuit of happiness. Happiness is the pursuit. And you need to, through gratitude, empathy, accountability, and inspiration, enjoy the pursuit of that potential, that truth. So the number one thing is not your why. The number one thing that we need to do is know your what. In order to appropriate, expand, and grow and live in a world of more than enough, we need to know our what. What do you want today? Every single day, take inventory of your own values, your personal values, your experiential values. What do you want today? Your giving values. How do I want to be of service, of value to others? What do I want to give today? And then finally, most importantly, what do I want to receive? To allow it to come through me with appreciation, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration to others. What is it I want to receive? You need to know your what for personal experiential giving and receiving values. And once you know your what, the next step, the second daily practice, oh, by the way, when you know your what, don't be afraid of being a hypocrite. That's a big part of it, is that so many people are afraid to tell you they changed their mind, or that they've changed the way they thought, or they've didn't know what they didn't know. Every day I'm a hypocrite, and I'm proud of it because it means I'm growing and learning, that I didn't know what I didn't know. I institute rule number 6, or try to every day of my life within the context of rule number 1, to know my what, which is don't take yourself so seriously. If you realize mathematically the billions of variables that exist on Earth, the billions of facts that exist that you have accessibility to right now, you'll realize you don't know anything. The more that you learn, the more you'll realize the less you know. So most importantly, don't take yourself so seriously. Know your what. And then let's figure out number 2 daily practice in business development. Know your who. Who is it that sits in the situation of your what? In other words, the easiest way to get to where you want to be is to ask directions from someone that's already there. It's that simple. The biggest fear that people have is they're afraid to ask for help. I have 2 words that sit on my nightstand. It used to be thank you. Now it's radical humility. To remind myself that every day I need to ask in person, on the phone, via email and media, traditional and social, for help. I need to realize that there are no gatekeepers, that I realize every once in a while I come upon a closed mind, but I'm looking for open minds. It takes as much energy to change the opinion or to ask for help from a closed mind as it does 1,000 people with an open mind. So I'm looking for 1,000 open minds in person, on the phone, via email and media. I'm looking to ask one question. Do you know anyone that can help me? Do you know anyone that can help me? That question exponentially will help you in business development, because in simple math, you will be able to reach thousands and thousands and thousands of people. When I was young and I asked for help, my parents could help me because they had a card game, a golf game, a church group, some differential, small, finite group of people in order to help effectuate the help that I needed. Not today. My 10-year-old has 1,000 people that he could follow and ask, do you know anyone who can help my dad? He's looking for this. We don't ask. I look every day in my sent box to see how many times I'm asking. And I'm, as Rochelle said, I'm giving them an opportunity to give. I'm making them feel good. Nothing makes us feel better than when someone else asks us for help. That's why we all love to give. But we have to learn to receive, and we have to learn to have radical humility when we find our who in order to effectuate, do you know anyone that can help me? There are no gatekeepers. They're just sponsors, people that know people that can help us, and power sponsors, people that can help us themselves and know people that can help us. And once we know our what and our who, we then go to how. And the how is interesting to me because I implement in my business development practice, the third practice of how is very simply the mathematical equation of luck. So many people wonder, oh my God, he's so lucky, so lucky. Yes, I'll tell you why. Because what I pay attention to, plus what I give my intention to, equals the coincidences in my life. Attention plus intention equals coincidence. It's the mathematical equation of luck. And how do I implement that? In a very pragmatic way. I am a student, right? A student is defined by someone who pays attention and gives an attention to the coincidences they want. I'm a student of my calendar. And I study 3 things: what I have planned, what I don't have planned, and my sleep. And I study it with 3 lenses: a lens of productivity, of how much value and service I can provide to others, a lens of accessibility, which is a bifocal lens, a bifocal in the respect that not only is it how accessible am I to others, right? I hate the term busy. Busy means unavailable. I'm active. I'm accessibly active. I am accessible to all. That's why I give my email, my phone number, all my information, and answer myself. I want to remain connected to and through everyone and everything. But it also, accessibility means, what am I asking? It means to receive. So I'm looking with a lens of productivity, accessibility, and of course, as previously mentioned, everything has the lens of gratitude. Where is the light, the love, and the lessons? If I can't figure out how to love what I'm doing, I'm not going to do it. If I can't learn to love what I'm doing, the activity I get paid for, activity I don't get paid for, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to delegate it, relegate it, dissolve it, or dissipate it, but I'm not going to do it. And so I challenge myself and build a muscle in my mindset and my heart set to effectuate consciously through the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind to love everything I do. Everybody said in my career, oh, you're so lucky, you've always loved what you've done. Who the heck would love selling legal research or running a business? Have you ever heard of overhead and employees? No, I've learned to love it. I've learned to love it. I find it through the lens of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude. I know my how. I take inventory of my values every day and know my what. I'm not afraid of being a hypocrite. I know who has it. I go and I ask with radical humility, do you know anyone that can help me? The easiest way to get to where I want to be is to find people who are already there and ask them for directions. And then I implement luck. Attention plus intention equals the coincidences, utilizing my student of the calendar with the 3 lenses that I taught. And the 4th step complements that, which is to be present. In other words, do it now. The 4th daily practice of business development is the anti-procrastination tool of doing it now. Now, I'm not a big statistics person. In fact, the only statistic that I ever really liked was 99% of all statistics are made up. That guaranteed to be true. But then I started playing golf and I learned a second statistic that was true. 100% of all my short putts didn't go in, or anybody else's. And I really like that one. But the most powerful statistic I've ever learned is 100% of the things you do now get done. And the difference between successful people and everyone else, happy people, is successful, happy people get things done. And so ask yourself, can I do this now? According to what? That's right, your what. The values that you've taken inventory at the beginning of the day in order to effectuate what you want, personally, experientially, giving and receiving wise. What do you want? And then if you align with what you want and you can do it now, do it. Now, what do we do if we can't do something now? Well, we then, or I do, utilize Roosevelt's matrix of importance versus urgency. And I prioritize things according to my value of what's important. And I go ahead and put them in my calendar or some other place as a repository in order to effectuate, align with the values that I have at the time that I have time to do it, in order to get things done, more things done, and not lose track of them by utilizing the difference between important versus urgency. Too many people make things urgent that aren't important. If something's just urgent, you can delegate it. If something's urgent and important, give it priority and probably do it now. If not, put it into your calendar, prioritize it in the portion of your calendar of the activity you don't have planned. Whatever efficiency, effectiveness, or statistical success you want to go ahead and apply to that, you can. But the key is to be present and do things now. Get the most done that you can. Then finally, the most important practice of business development, with consideration of perspective and peace and control of accountability and inspiration, is to practice ending fear. It's a lifelong practice for me, and it's a 4-step practice in order to effectuate it. The first is to understand and identify what you're afraid of, because that fear is what's interfering with what you are already connected to, the wealth, the health, the happiness that you're already connected to and through. And so we need to determine, one is a primal fear, right? An innate Freudian fear, the need to feed, fight, flight, and of course the other F word that means procreate. Is that where that urgent urge, this necessity of interference is caused? Or more commonly and more destructively, the needs of the ego that are secondary, the ones that we've wasted the majority of our life in productivity with, the majority of our health, wealth, and happiness with. What is that? Needs of the ego. The secondary needs of the ego, the need to be separate, the need to be inferior, the need to be superior, the need to be anxious, frustrated, angry, worried, the need to be resentful, offended, guilty, angry. Think about it. Just take the need to be offended, which is one of my biggest fears that I have. Right? You have a need to be offended, it will be fed faster than anything else in the world. I wish I could feed all of Africa and the rest of the world as fast as I feed my need to be offended. I walk out the door with the need to be offended, boom, I'm fed. It's instant. But think about how much time, emotion, value, and friendships and relationships you have wasted, ruined, interfered with, created corrosion and corruption to one of these great sources of light, love, and lessons in your life simply because you had a need to be offended, right, guilty, anxious, frustrated, angry, separate, inferior, superior, or any of these other feelings. Think about what we could have done with our lives if we didn't interfere with what we already had. That's why we need to practice ending fear. That's why, number one, you need to identify what you're afraid of. And then two, be a ferocious Buddha. That's right. A ferocious Buddha is like a psycho bunny. It's an oxymoron. A ferocious Buddha needs to not only identify what they're afraid of, but instead of resisting it, running away from it, going over it, under it, through it, around it, overselling it, back-end selling it, lying to it, manipulating it, and cheating it, we simply want to live in our truth and stop. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of discipline and strategy when you're in ego-based consciousness, where there is a need to accelerate in the wrong direction and create more void, shortages, and obstacles in your life, simply to stop. And then drop. I always say counterintuitively, drop to your higher self. People are like, what are you talking about? Drop to your higher self. Drop down to neutral and center. When you're at neutral and center, that's your highest self. I meditate every morning for 20 minutes to find my plateau, to find my baseline. My tomorrow starts today. You know, I utilize my calendar, and you notice sleep was that third component. What you have planned, what you don't have planned is sleep. My tomorrow starts today. Why? Because I start at 9 p.m. I don't listen to the man-made construct of time, space, or any of the quantitative measurements that man-made construct has put upon me. I simply say my tomorrow starts today at 9 p.m. I do an unwinding routine so that I can plateau and grow in the morning. So I don't start like the myth of Sisyphus from Camus, where I'm pushing a boulder to the top of the hill just to have it roll down every morning. No, I use meditation to find my highest self, by getting down to neutral and center and finding that as a baseline for the day, so I can be a ferocious Buddha and identify what I'm afraid of when I'm not feeling at peace, at center. I can go ahead and stop under complete discipline and control, and then I can drop down to center and roll finally in the right trajectory. Roll in the right trajectory to be grateful, to be forgiving, to be accountable, and to be inspirational, effectively communicate through me, through everything else. Now, if you can institute those four values of gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration, utilizing the 5 daily practices of business development, where you're living in a world of more than enough of everything for everyone, where everyone is a power sponsor, a sponsor of yours, where you're abundantly changing the world with no scarcity by knowing your what, your who, your how, your now, and your why. With those 5 daily practices, I promise you, you will make more money, help more people, and have more fun. And most importantly, be happy. And if you can be happy, then empower other people with that great virus of happiness, the one that cannot be stopped, the virus that's simply spread by witnessing it, that strengthens you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, and even strengthens your immune system. Utilize the 4 values and the 5 daily practices to make more money, help more people, and have more fun. I appreciate everyone for their time. I'm happy to take a little Q&A and appreciate everyone for their support of Unstoppable. Please email me at david@dmeltzer.com directly if you need any help at all.
Wow. That was absolutely amazing. I'm taking notes like a madman over here.
Hey, hopefully they recorded it. I talk too fast, I've been told.
We haven't recorded, but I still like when I write it down or type it in, it sticks. And so we do have some questions. So I remember yesterday, I want to start with, I'm trying to remember what you talked about. You asked me a question about 3 things that we should be considering. I'm just trying to remember what they were, because I thought it was very powerful the way you had me thinking about do you remember what the question or
you have to put it into context, because I asked so many questions.
Yeah.
All
right.
So maybe was it the 3 worlds that you live in? Not
yeah, I think it. Yes. It was something else, but I'm gonna see if I can remember that. But let me jump over here to the questions. We have one that says, David, if you were raised the way to never ask for help, and we've been doing that program for years, how can we change?
Oh, there's so many things that we've been programmed. So the number one thing that we want to do to change the chain, right? The thing we've been programmed is to understand the programming itself. So one of the programs is conscious programming, which starts when we're born. All the data inputs, we get 10,000 new thoughts a day. And the more those are repeated to us, the more they go to the neural pathways. Then they start communicating with that quantum nature of ours, our personality traits, our addictions, our obsessions, our characteristics are incorporated by that programming. But there's also a subconscious programming that we're born with. And then there's a genetic programming that we're born with. Could be from 4 generations, or if you believe in, past lives, it could be billions of lifetimes. And so number one is to realize that you are programmed. And then once you realize that you have a program, then all you're doing is practicing to change that program. And the way that we practice the program is to cancel out the program and start a new program. Now, people are confused because they'll say, to start a new habit, it takes 21 days. To quit a habit, it takes that's not true if it's quantum in your nature. That's why alcoholics don't just quit drinking in 21 days when they've had their great grandpa, father, and then them be alcoholics. Because obviously, if that's the case, it's ingrained in their DNA.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be able to ever end this lifetime, which is why we start practicing the disciplines to change maybe for the future what we do. And so how do we practice? Number one, I have a cancel, clear, connect strategy that works. That's non-time determinative, meaning I don't put an expectation that I'm ever going to figure this out. It's progress, not perfection when we're changing these habits. It's minutes and moments in the bad place of habits, not days, weeks, months, and years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when we take a perspective of time in that manner, it lowers the bar and allows us to get motivated to get started so we can be inspired and access without that interference a lot more of the solution that we want. And so if you've been programmed not to ask for help, then every time you feel that, just say cancel.
Wow.
Just say cancel and start programming yourself. And then if it comes up and keeps coming up, just say clear my mind. I want this out of my subconscious. And then if it's part of your quantum nature, like some of these habits and disciplines are, then you can actually practice shifting your energy. And I have a trick that I use for the deep-seated stuff. It took me one time nine years to forgive someone. Wow. I had to shift my energy every day by what I call connect. I pictured this person that I felt I couldn't get rid of the negative energy. Mm-hmm. And I pictured them and I found a light with my eyes closed. I said, good father, good to the community, like found light in them.
Right.
Then I took in the same mind's eye what I loved the most, my own family, Bananas Foster's cheesecake, at the time, the San Diego Chargers, whatever it was. And that was easy, filled with light. Then I shared the light. So I had one big ball of light with what I hated the most about myself, that person. Notice I said what I hated the most about myself, that person.
Okay.
And what I loved the most. And then I took that light and I put it over my own head until I felt a shift in my actual innate energy. And I practiced that for 9 years. I used to go around saying, oh yeah, I forgive the guy, best thing that ever happened to me. I lost over $100 million. And I'm like, oh, all the blessings of the blessings. Meanwhile, I go home and when I went to bed, I dream about, tearing out his eyelashes one at a time, just,
sure.
But slowly but surely. In fact, 9 years later, I saw him at a tailgate and I went up to him now that my energy was cleared.
Yeah.
Not only, and I said, hey, I just want to thank you. Without you in my life, I'd not be where I am. The lessons I've learned are incredible. I still get choked up because I really mean it.
Sure.
He looked at me. He thought I was going to hit him in the face. Like he thought I'd actually lost my mind to sincerely apologize to him and say thank you to him. That's what it takes. So cancel, clear, connect. I'll send my book to everyone. It goes into description because this is one of the greatest tools to practice ending the fear that you have, the fear of receiving, not feeling worthy of everything you have or you want.
That's really powerful. Wow. That's hard to do. So you described an incredible way of taking that and making it tangible so you can actually move on. That's lovely. I have another question. What do you consider to be your biggest failure?
So I like the word lessons. Okay. I like the word lessons. I failed my wife 2 years before I lost everything, because I was a liar, a cheater, manipulator, overseller, back end seller. I lost in who I was and what I needed to take stock in. I thought money bought love and happiness, and I thought money bought her love. I've known my wife since the 4th grade. A long time, the best thing that's ever happened to me, and the greatest lesson that I ever learned was to take stock in myself and to look for the superpowers in others. And I learned that through my wife. She saved my life. There's a book out there, Don't Take Yes for an Answer. I was taking yes for an answer for about 15 years as a multimillionaire in my 20s and 30s, everybody trying to get something from me and telling me yes. And finally, my wife told me she wasn't happy and told me no. Greatest lesson I ever learned, because I almost lost her.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. But all right, here's a one. I'm going to jump a question that's a little lower down, but it's for business professionals. So Guy asked, for business development professionals, what is the most important lesson you've learned through your experience that you could provide to us?
Oh, here it goes. I love this question. It's a short answer too.
Okay.
Business development is one thing, man. Find open minds. Don't waste your time with closed minds. There's so many open minds out there. So learn a series of questions, a templated series of questions in order to effectuate whether someone has an open mind. And I'll tell you how I do it. I say, hey, Jimmy, what are you doing today? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Those quick questions will determine by the answers whether Jimmy has an open mind or a closed minded. And if he has a closed mind, I don't care if he sits in the lowest hanging fruit, the best prospect that I could ever have to do business development with. If he has a closed mind, I'm walking away, because I know it takes 1,000 times more energy to re-engineer a closed mind than it does to ask an open mind. And the people with open minds will be surrounded by more people with open minds. And when it comes to business development, the more open minds that are helping more open minds, the better you're going to be.
Wow. That's incredible. How much time do we have left? Because I have quite a few. I just want to make sure I
keep going, man.
Around.
I'll keep going
okay.
until they kick me off.
Gotcha. Okay. So what fear are you fighting right now?
The fear that I fight the most is the need to be offended. When you truly live your life to give it away, I have to fight every day the scarcity of feeling I'm being taken advantage of, that I'm not acknowledged, I'm not recognized, I'm not appreciated, right? I run so many businesses, I have so many shows, I have 4 children of my own and a beautiful wife, as I stated before. It's so easy to fall into that trap when you're giving your life away to all of a sudden say, whoa, I'm offended. They didn't even say thank you, right? If you could get that out of your mind, once I relinquish all rights to everything I give, my only focus, whether it's investment, whether it's my energy, my only focus is to receive as much as I can, to clear the connection between me and everything I already have, my health, my wealth, and my happiness, and determine what's interfering with the health, the wealth, and the happiness in order to effectuate receiving more of it, to give it away. And that's where I get fulfilled. Why am I diminishing my capacity by having a need to be offended?
Wow. Now I love these two terms you've used quite a bit: sponsor and power sponsor. That I'm looking at that. I'm like, wow. Give me a little bit more on that. How that came about.
Yeah, well, I was an overseller, back-end seller, liar, manipulator, and cheater. It's inherent in my being. My dad was that way. My grandpa was that way, which made us great salespeople. But I was trained and taught and inherent in my quantum being to overcome the mountains in front of me. Gatekeeper was the word. I saw everyone outside of me as someone that was trying to stop me from getting what I want. And when I realized that I'm not afraid of that mountain in front of me, that they're not gatekeepers in front of me, but I'm walking with the thing that made the mountain, that made the gate. I'm walking with that at all time. It's inside of me. It's beside me. It's in me. This is me. And so once I decided, wait a second, everybody's connected. There are no gatekeepers. These people around me that I'm meeting, they're here to help me. Either find someone to help me if they don't have the capability, or help me themselves if they have the capability that I need, and find someone else to help me with that capability.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. To understand that there is no gatekeeper really lifts the burden off your shoulders and gives you that ability to just do what you need to do.
Oh, it'll piss off your salespeople, by the way. I know sales, business development, because they'll come in my office and Dave, this guy's not calling me back. I'll close my eyes, tell myself I will receive no resistance. There's only power sponsors and sponsors in my life. There is no resistance. This is effortless. I'll dial. They'll answer with the best attitude in the world going, oh, thank goodness you called. And my sales rep's like, oh, come on, man. It
Okay.
works. It works.
Sure. So Kelly asks, how do you handle mistakes? I was raised that mistakes are considered failures. How do you change this paradigm?
Yeah, that's a serious paradigm. And I was faced with that same scarce winner loser attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for me, when you start looking for the lessons in the things that happen that aren't happening the way you thought they would happen, you start seeing the light, the love, and that lesson in them. And you'll start dissipating and dissolving that belief that a mistake is something that is bad. Let me give you an example. I have a construct in my life now by practicing this, light, love, and lesson practice, is that one, learn to love where you're at. Learn to love yourself. Meaning I remind myself every day, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Right place, perfect time. Too many people don't take the time to remind themselves, I got everything I need. I wouldn't be here if I did. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I'm going to give everything I have, institute the law of Goya, get off your ass. I'm a big fan of that, to angle to what I want. Notice I didn't say go after what I want. I have the enlightenment to know that I'm angling towards what I want, because I know one thing. You want to make God laugh? Come up with a well-developed plan. And my whole life has been angling towards what I want with one thing that I didn't have before: faith. Why is faith important? Because faith will let me remind me I'm where I'm supposed to be. It'll give me the power and strength to angle to what I want when the mistakes, quote unquote, happen. Mm-hmm. But guess what? Faith is very important in the third step, which is I have faith that I'm going to end up somewhere better than I thought.
Okay.
If I love where I'm at, angle to what I want with all my heart and soul, and have faith that I'll end up better than I thought I could, man, everything comes my way.
Wow. That's great. All right. So here's David. Eric asked the question, what is a typical day in the life of David Meltzer? What time does it start, end, and what happens in between? He wants to know everything.
Okay, real quick. I'm going to run down this real quick. So I have two routines, and I suggest everyone does, right? Because what I said, you want to make God laugh, come up with a well-developed routine. Mm-hmm. The adaptable routine is as important as my set routine. My adaptable routine, real quickly, is based off of three things. Minimum of an hour a day on my health first, no matter what. Minimum of 30 minutes with my wife, my son, 10, 2 minutes with my 3 teenage daughters, 1 minute with my mom, to tell her 4 things. Write this down, everyone. You want a close relationship with anyone, especially your parents? Just tell them these 4 things every day for 1 minute. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I love you, and I appreciate you, meaning you add value to my life. I promise, if you have the worst relationships with your parents, you spend 1 minute to remind them you're happy, healthy, love, and appreciate them. That's all any parent innately wants for you. Now, my last 10 minutes, minimum 10 minutes on being a student of my calendar. Here's the Dave Meltzer routine. 9 p.m. is the start of my day. Remember, my tomorrow starts today. I don't listen to man-made constructs. So I have an unwinding routine at 9 p.m. every night that allows me to sleep in full recovery and connection to the greatest source of light, love, and lessons, subconsciously and unconsciously. My tomorrow starts at 9 p.m. tonight, where I have an unwinding routine with no alcohol, no interferences, no stress. Everything's controlled so that I have this peaceful recovery to make sure that I wake up at 4 a.m. I wake up, I meditate for 20 minutes, I get ready, I do exercise for a minimum of an hour. I have an hour and a half of research time, an hour of family time off the grid. Then I start implementing and executing on the student of the calendar till 5 o'clock, where I take an hour and a half of family time again. Then I have an hour and a half of optional family or research or a combination thereof, moving into my unwinding routine every single day, except for when the plans come, the in-laws come in town, the weather's bad, the snow turns off all my lights, whatever it be. Then I go right to, I got to make sure I get my hour. I got to make sure I'm spending the time with the family, and I make sure that I have the studying of my calendar to maximize my time with the lens of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to give a couple more because I know you have to go.
Cool.
But one is something that a lot of people are probably asking. So I see it here. So it says, did the movie capture your journey?
The movie captured more of Lee Steinberg's journey. I was the CEO of the company, but I will tell you, totally helped me with my business because it taught me a valuable lesson. The lesson of bug lights and backdrops. What does that mean? That you can use sports as a bug light to effectuate anything that you want. And two, sports as a backdrop to anything that you want to do. Too many people, limit themselves in what they want to do, and they don't think, gosh, I really love, sewing. I'm going to have to be the best sewer in the world, instead of saying to themselves, I love sewing. I'm going to use sewing as a backdrop to what I do because I have this skill set and knowledge to be a great engineer. So I'm going to engineer sewing machines, instead of being the best sewer in the world. Mm-hmm. And too many people make that mistake. So think bug lights and backdrops, and you can learn to love what you do so much easier while you're maximizing your skills, knowledge, and desire to make more money, help more people, and have more fun, instead of creating interferences, voids, and shortages.
Nice. And then our final question, this is just it's a one word. So the three lenses were accessibility, gratitude, and
productivity. So how much value are you going to provide? How accessible are you to others? And what are you accessing? And most importantly, by far, find the light, the love, and the lessons in everything that you do. Activity you get paid for, activity you don't get paid for. I don't believe in work. Go ahead, categorize things as activity you get paid for, activity you don't. You'll do much better.
So David, this was absolutely amazing. I hope everyone found a lot of value here. Gary, I'm just going to let you jump right in there. Turn on your mic, sir.
Yeah, most common mistake.
Most common. I thought I hit it. I didn't click it twice. David, that was awesome. I can't tell you how energized I was after last night's conversation with you and Mike. Jimmy and I came away with such energy, such excitement, and you totally delivered today. And with Jimmy's, Jimmy at the helm, we couldn't go wrong. So it was a win all around. I can't thank you enough. I really can't. I'm extremely
thank
grateful.
you. Thank you, everyone. And my life's goal is to empower over 1 billion people to happy. I see that in the questions as well. And please, part of that is to reach out. Don't be afraid. Have radical humility. David@dmeltzer.com. I am a sponsor and a power sponsor to everyone here. And I appreciate your support of the Unstoppable Foundation, Jimmy and Gary, to give us an opportunity to share what we're doing, the good work that we're doing around the world. Please remember, everyone, be kind to your future self. Do good deeds.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah. So
thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you again. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah. So, at this point, we're going to break out and connect and do some networking. As Jimmy had laid out, you can click on different tables and you'll be able to circulate and please connect with each other. We're on the back of a really awesome, positive experience. So I know there's a lot of smiles in the room and a lot of people have been writing. And we will, if it's okay, we'll have a recording. We have a YouTube channel that we will be posting this on with our other events. But I'm sure this is going to be the most popular one.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. Thank you again, David, for blessing us here. And we're going to come back in a little while, everyone, with closing remarks. So please network, find those sponsors and those power sponsors. Let's get this thing moving. Rochelle, you want to say one last thing? Let me give it to Rochelle.
Oh, I just want to say thank you. I was going to go over to a room. Thank you so much. Just really appreciate it.
Love you, Rochelle. Great. Nice to see you. I love you.
Love you too. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. We are now going to move back into conversation mode and let's start the conversating.